Do you feel like you're drowning in Zoom calls and paperwork? Are you constantly being interrupted by colleagues, team members, peers, maybe even your boss, resulting in a great deal of stress because you can't get your work done? Are you constantly juggling priorities? Well, you're not alone. Our brains are overloaded. As adults, we make between 50 and 70,000 decisions every day. And you know what? The average person checks their mobile devices up to 100 times a day. That's like 6 times per hour that you're awake, or once every 10 minutes or so. That's crazy. And we have this urban acronym called FOMO, which means the fear of missing out. But I would suggest to you that really you should change that acronym to mean fear of mind overload, because that's what we're doing to our brains. We're overloading our brains every day. And here's another problem: disruptions and interruptions. According to research done at the University of California in Riverside, it takes between 22 and 24 minutes for the brain to refocus on a major cognitive task after being interrupted. And the same research, though, shows that the average worker gets interrupted every 16 minutes. No wonder it's so hard to get those major thinking tasks done at work. You're constantly being interrupted and your brain never gets a chance to refocus. When I learned about this research study, when I was working on my book, Better Decisions, Better Thinking, Better Outcomes, this research fascinated me. It also shocked me because, well, for instance, when I write, I usually write in 3 to 3.5 hour segments. And I usually get up every 50 minutes or so to make a new cup of coffee. And previously, I would check my emails, look for text messages, see if I had any missed calls while the kettle's boiling and I'm making my coffee. I don't do that anymore because this research has shown me that, and it's proven to me, because what I do now is I put my phone on airplane mode when I'm in this writing mode and when I'm spending 3 to 3.5 hours writing or editing. So what I now do is when I go and make that cup of coffee, I'm not looking at my phone. I'm not checking text messages or missed calls. And what happens now is that my brain is still thinking in the background. How do I segue to the next chapter? Or how do I segue to the next paragraph? Or am I happy with what I just wrote? Or what needs to be covered next? What topic should I be thinking about? So instead of my brain thinking about text messages and missed phone calls and should I call somebody back immediately while I'm making that coffee and being distracted, and then when I used to do that, and when I go back to writing, it would take me, 10, 15 minutes sometimes to refocus on what I was writing. Now, when I get back, boom, I'm straight into the writing or the editing, no interruptions at all. And I'm in a better, what we call flow state. And that helps me write better and is much more productive. So here's a tip for you. Block time for no disruptions. Start by blocking maybe 2 half-hour segments each week, maybe Tuesday morning and say Thursday afternoon. And use this time to work on those cognitive tasks that are really important to you with no interruptions. And then gradually extend this. Hopefully you get up to a couple of 90-minute periods twice a week. And use these times to fully concentrate on those big, mentally challenging projects and tasks that you're facing. Now, here's a second tip for you, particularly if you're the one scheduling and running meetings with others. Everyone runs back-to-back meetings. And everyone schedules meeting for 60 or 90 minutes. So go ahead and schedule your meeting for 60 or 90 minutes. However, run the actual meeting for 45 or 75 minutes. And here's what happens if you do that. Let's say you have a 60-minute meeting schedule and you run it for 45. It now gives your brain 5 minutes to kind of pull together everything that's happened in that meeting. You have time to send out a confirmation email, whatever you might need to do. Write yourself some notes, some action items, whatever needs to be followed up. Then go outside. Take 5 minutes, get some fresh air, take a mental break. Don't take your mobile device or don't check your mobile device. Don't look at emails. 5 minutes, just kind of let your brain re-energize itself. And now you have 5 minutes to prepare for the next meeting. Because here's what happens. And as soon as you finish one meeting, you jump into the second. Brain is still partially focused on the previous meeting. So you're not 100% there with your brain for the first 5 or 7 minutes of the next meeting. And that's why sometimes you'll do it or you'll see somebody say something like halfway through the meeting. I have a question about something such, or are we going to talk about this today? And it was covered in those first 5 minutes. And now that person feels embarrassed, or you could feel embarrassed because obviously you weren't paying attention. You might have thought you were paying attention, but your brain was not fully focused. So run the meeting for 45 minutes or 75 minutes if it's a 90-minute meeting. Give yourself that 5 minutes to kind of pull together your thoughts. 5 minutes, just total refresher. If you want to talk to somebody on the phone, make it a personal call. Nothing about business. Give the brain time to re-energize and then 5 minutes to prepare for the next meeting. So try these best practices out as soon as you can. You'll find your brain gets less tired throughout the day, that you have more mental capacity and more mental energy to tackle those challenging cognitive tasks. I guarantee you these little tips work. In the next video, I'll explain why your brain is wired to react and why this is not necessarily good. Let's go to the next video now.